Okay, hi everyone. How are you guys doing today? If you can see me and if you can hear me loud and clear, just type yes in the chat. If you can see me and if you can hear me loud and clear, just type yes in the chat. Awesome. Perfect. So we have so many people, Sanya, Jatin. Okay, so let it go in. Okay, so when you're replying, please do panelist and attendees so that everybody can see what you're typing in. We have more than 200 people here. And so first questions first, where are you guys from? If you can just type in the city you're coming from, just type in the place you're visiting. And we're going to be starting in about a minute right now. Okay, so we have people from Kuwait, Madurai, Delhi. Somebody's from Germany, Ghana, Saudi. Okay, so people from all over the world. Uh, Dubai, Uti, Nepal. Okay, Nigeria. Awesome. This is so cool. I think we have people from all across the globe. Superb. Perfect. This is amazing. So it's almost 9 p.m. now. So my name is Rishi. I'm the co-founder of Digital Scholar, and I'm so excited to welcome each one of you for this amazing session by Omar. And you're going to be meeting him shortly. And he is one amazing speaker, and he's going to be sharing some awesome insights. So you just want to wait for him to join in, and we're going to get started with the session. So I believe Omar is already here. Omar, if you can hear us. Um,
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Let me just put my camera on. I think,
I need to give
yeah,
you the access. I'll just make you the
I
co-host.
believe so. Okay, so let me see if you guys can see me.
Awesome. So let's welcome Omar, guys. And before we do that, let me introduce he is and what a fantastic products that he has launched as such. So let me introduce you, Omar. So Omar Farookh is a digital designer, and he's been working with startups since 2011. And right after graduating with a motion design degree in London. So in early 2014, he started his Amazon business around his full-time job, and being a designer, he added the added advantage of designing his own brand and product imagery, which helped him differentiate from his competitors and generate enough sales to sell out his e-commerce stock within the first 2 months. So guys, because of his entire branding and product imagery, he was able to do a full sellout for his e-commerce product within just the first 2 months. And since then, the word spread out quickly, and the entire e-commerce community wanted to work with him for his design skills. And he had like amazing seven-figure clients and started his own design agency. So he runs a design agency, but as he grew in his experience, as the product value increased, his services value also increased, and he could not cater to a lot many entrepreneurs who are looking for e-commerce solution. And that's when he actually launched another product, which is an amazing e-commerce design product, which has a lot of templates for e-commerce products, called as Glorify app. So he is an amazing person, and we're going to learn from a lot from his experiences. So let's welcome Omar here. So let's hit it in the chat and let's say welcome Omar, and show him some love here. Okay,
Hey,
welcome.
what's up?
Let's go.
What's up,
Keep
guys?
going on. Keep going on.
Thanks a lot for that intro, Rishi. That's quite an intro, and it's really exciting to see a full house today. Like 220 participants is
Yes.
awesome. It's very rare that I come on a webinar with this many participants. So
So
super
we are just
excited.
starting out in about 10 minutes. I think the room should be about 400 people, and we're live streaming on Facebook group. So add in another 100 people. So give your best shot. And so many people are looking up to you, Omar. Over to you.
Awesome. I'll try my best. Awesome, guys. So, firstly, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Rishi. We've been meaning to do this for quite some time. I do apologize from last time we were meant to do it, but I had a bit of a family emergency. But I'm really excited and pumped to be here today.
We are
But
stoked, and I'm so happy to have you here. I've been chasing, and I know what value can you bring to the entire audience. And I was really looking forward to this. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. I love to start my presentations by kind of learning a little bit more about the audience. So whatever business you're running, just drop in the comments. I'll I kind of peek every so often to see, where my audience's core expertise and zone of genius lies. So wherever your zone of genius, drop it in. Are you a marketer, designer? Are you a consultant? You're a team leader? I'd love to know about that. And what niche are you in? Are you in e-commerce? Are you in SaaS? I'd love to know that kind of stuff. So wow, loads of
So
kind of a
guys, please
range.
reply to panelists and attendees because some of your answers are being seen to me. And yeah, please reply to everyone. Yeah, over to you, Omar.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I can see it's a vibrant community. That's pretty cool. I really, really appreciate that. And the great news about this presentation is a lot of the strategies I mentioned, even though I launched a SaaS product specifically, it still is very relevant to any type of product launch that you want to consider, right? So this is where you can really, really leverage all of this stuff. So I am going to share my screen. And let me know if you guys can clearly see my screen. I'm just going to kind of organize myself a little bit here. Yep. Can you see my screen?
Yes, all clear.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm trying to work out how do I hide the Zoom panel thing. Is there a way to hide that? Okay, there we go. That should do the trick. All right, guys. So without further ado, sorry, that's not the beginning of my deck. I do apologize. Let me go back to the beginning. So what's the presentation about? Well, we're going to be talking about how to pivot from agency to product owner, right? And before we jump into presentation, I need you to, for those of you guys who are freelancers, agencies, or even working inside an agency, it's important to know that how privileged you are, because working in these environments is really setting you up for core entrepreneurship skills, right? To become a product focused company, right? And really, like I'm a true believer in sort of the age that we live in, where we're not necessarily, the whole you know company owner and employee structure this does not exist anymore, right? The way I see it is that everyone is an entrepreneur in their own right, and great products and great companies are built by entrepreneurial teams, right? It's team members need to take ownership of their roles in the companies, and it's entrepreneurship is now being defined. It's that entrepreneurship skill that really makes you a massive problem solver within the company to allow you to bring value, right? And entrepreneurship is not necessarily anymore about building a successful, massive business. I don't think that's the best way to describe an entrepreneur. It's really about solving high stake problems. Really, that's where the core entrepreneurship skill set comes, right? It's whether or not you are capable of solving high stake problems, and that's real entrepreneurship right there. So with that in mind, we'll jump into this presentation. So a little bit about myself to give you context. I'm Rishi already gave me a bit of an intro, but to keep it really short, I'm a digital motion designer. I've had a passion to help e-commerce and online e-learning startups through design and branding strategy for just over 7 years now. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Glorify. Now, a snapshot of my journey, so you understand a bit further more context in how I went from agency owner to a SaaS company. Well, I started, like Rishi mentioned, I started in the Amazon FBA model. So for those of you who don't know what the Amazon FBA model, it's the best stepping stone into entrepreneurship, I believe, one of the best ones, because it's it's one of the easiest business models. And for any of you guys are creative people like me, come from a design background, a lot of designers and creative people are not really taught the business sense, right? And if you agree with me, let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear if you feel that way. A lot of creative people like me, climbing up the career ladder, when I was working in corporate environments, we were kind of cast aside in the corner as the little guy that makes things look pretty, right? So but now, of course, designers are much more highly sought out people that design is really seen as is another high stake problem that needs solving for any startup today, right? But back then it wasn't like, we're talking about 2010, 2011. It's like most companies didn't value it as much, right? And lucky enough, I came across the Amazon FBA model, and it started to groom my business sense for the first time. I was very fortunate because really, I mean, for those of you who don't know what the Amazon business model, how it works is, it's as simple as sourcing products from China, right? Rebranding it yourself, shipping that over to Amazon and selling it under your own brand, right? It's really that simple. Step one to step two, step three. And was a breath of fresh air to find such a simple business model, because there's all kinds of other stuff that I've come across in the past. I mean, cryptocurrency was becoming a thing at that time in 2012. Bitcoin was just, there was a bit of a fad around some of my peers, and I just didn't get it. Right. They made some money, but at that time I still didn't get it. I didn't want to risk doing something I didn't get. And so this made sense to me. I jumped into it, and I was, I had an added advantage against my sort of the colleagues in this entrepreneurship community, where I was able to design my own product images myself. And I actually used my motion design background creating, I used to create info commercials and advertising and stuff like that. And really, when it comes to motion design, you have to, to sell a product through content, you have to create a story or a narrative. So I use that same process of storyboarding my the way I would storyboard my commercials. I use that same process to storyboard my carousel of product images on Amazon, and I created a narrative around that, because fundamentally it's that story narrative that hooks your customers in and leads them into purchasing and building trust and then purchasing your product, right? So that story structure is what gave me that success. And through that success, my peers in the Amazon community heard about my initial success. I sold out all of my units, and they're like, "Hey, wait, how are you doing this?" And I told them my strategy, and they started asking me for some help. So I used to kind of do it as a side hustle around my side hustle, right? Where I was helping other entrepreneurs create engaging product images. That led to me, building another side income out of it, because, more and more people requesting this as a service. And then that eventually scaled to where I needed to hire a few people to help me, help other entrepreneurs at scale. And that's where my agency was born, right? So I was really using this product image strategy formula that we created to help loads of e-commerce entrepreneurs and even e-learning startups, because the same strategy can be used for, believe me, for any product, right? And as my agency scaled, I realized, my agency scaled further than my Amazon business. So I was able to sell off my Amazon business and only focus on my zone of genius, which is, design. So I really enjoyed working in my design agency, because really that's where my core passion lies. I really defined and took ownership and almost proprietarized, or made my formula or process a proprietary process of our own agency, and we called it and coined the term the product image formula. If you type this online, you'll find out our ebook about this. And really, the product image formula is a documented process of how you create a story-driven narrative using product imagery and content on your website, on your marketplace listing. If you're selling on Amazon, eBay, if you're selling on even a service on Fiverr, you need a story-driven carousel of images. If you're selling on social media, you need a story-driven carousel of images, those or story-driven content, so it's really segmenting your content to really drive that narrative. And we created a process around this. That process, we realized, can only serve a few clients at a time. We eventually, our agency went from serving loads of clients to only a selective few clients that kept the business going, a few selective 7-figure clients that were successful. But what I found working with successful clients is I was kind of a bit bored, because I lost, when you work with established businesses, the established businesses are kind of, they're smooth sailing, they're cruising. I miss the passion and the vigor working with new and, kind of new and aspiring entrepreneurs, right? So I wanted to go back into the startup land. And to do this, I thought, hey, what if we automate our formula and create a SaaS product that takes the image strategy formula, put that into like a product that gives them niche-oriented product templates and allows them to customize that for their own product and launch it. And so this is where we started spitting out code, and we built Glorify. Once we built the MVP, we launched it. We started seeing revenue come in. We quit the agency, completely. We became a product-focused company, and we never looked back. Now that's my journey in a nutshell. Now it's been one glorious year so far. We started with 17 members, 0 users, 0 followers, 0 design maids off our platform. Sorry, I'm just gonna take this off. There we go. And sorry, Rishi, do you mind saying a couple of words if
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah. Yep. I was just wondering if my earphone's working. Cool. Okay, no, it is working. So I was a big just wondering. Okay, so we'll go back straight into it. So zero users, designers, zero followers, and zero design mates off our platform. At present, we have voted number one product of the day on Product Hunt. We're very, very humbled to be nominated by the Product Hunt community for the Hello Kitty Award for the best design tool of 2019. We were voted as number two product of the week. We went from 17 members to 28 team members. 51,000 users have signed up on Glorify so far. 80,000 followers across all our channels, including social media and email. And 350,000 designs made just as of 2 months ago. And these numbers are growing every single day. Now, the question is, why agency to product? Okay. And despite what I've been able to achieve, you need to answer that fundamental question, and we can replace agency by any other model, freelancer, employee. It's the same concept here, right? Why would you go from agency to product, employee to product, or freelancer to product, right? And so really the decision comes here, right? And it was best put by Nathan Lacter. If you don't know who Nathan Lacter is, he's an entrepreneur. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's a tech enthusiast, the founder of founderpath.com. He does a lot of critique on SaaS companies. And do follow his content because there's a lot of knowledge to be taken out from him. But what he said in a LinkedIn post that caught my attention was that want to build $1 million SaaS company, do this first. Build an agency. You learn to sell and solve problems at the agency. When you solve the same problem over and over again, you build code. And you realize that code can be used by many people. Then you spin out SaaS and build into your first 100 customers. That's getting sort of some validation or almost like basic product market fit. Agency owners in their 20s make the best SaaS founders in their 30s, right? And so really, this is the privilege that you can be. And I want to replace, even Nathan Lacter here specifically mentioned agency, but the same theory goes if you're a freelancer. The same theory goes if you're an employee in a company working on to solve high stake problems at that company. Now, let's talk about some really clear pros and cons between going from agency or service route to product route, right? Now, obviously, I think the most, and I don't want to knock the agency model, by the way, or the freelancer model. I think it's a great business model. I've been a freelancer and agency in the past. And by the way, not a massively huge agency for that matter. Just, we were servicing just enough clients to keep the business running. And with that, you have we were able to pivot to a product focused company because of proper management, right? And we'll get to that a bit later. But really, the advantages of being an agency, of course, are many. You get to service clients, you get to improve your expertise, you are able to provide your core expertise value to your end client, and you don't have to worry about the headache of running a business, because running a business, it has its risks and has a large part of accountability for sure, right? And when you're running an agency, no doubt you leave all that accountability and risk to the client, and so the client takes over that part. But ultimately, there is a big problem when it comes to scaling. You can't scale an agency it's in an evergreen sense, right? It requires multiple retainers, and if you're working on project to project, then really you can never base a runway or a evergreen sustainability on project to project model, right? It does really require to sell retainers, and anywhere between 6 month to 12-month retainers. If you do sell a retainer, that's great, especially a long engagement, because most likely a 12-month engagement will turn into the following year and the third year, because if they after 12 months, it's likely your client is going to have to rely on you. You become almost like a partner to them in a sense, right? But you still have to rely on, sorry guys, I don't know, my camera just went off there for a second. It's not a good day for me on my content process. Okay, let me just switch my camera here. Thank you, man. Let me just quickly, all right, I'm going to go back to my webcam.
Perfect, looks good.
Awesome. it does require multiple retainers to sell ultimately, right? And selling retainers is not easy. You've got to prepare a pitch, 12 months engagement. They have to build trust and loyalty with you. You most likely have to take a few one-off projects before they trust you enough to build to start a 12-month engagement. So there's all these things to factor in, and so that really puts a limit on your scalability, and you're ultimately going to be accountable to others in a subtle way, whether they're you realize it or not. Your clients are always going to be putting you on trial, right, for your service, right? And this one seem obvious, but you're always going to be somewhat of course, you're going to be accountable to them, and you will have that level of pressure, realizing that your service has to bring in specific results. But versus when you're running your own company and you're selling your own products, the accountability is totally, you take ownership of that accountability, right? And so that's a very freeing feeling, having that accountability on yourself. If you're willing to take the risk and you're willing to be able to essentially be able to take the risk, then with that risk comes a lot of freedom as well, because you don't have to ever worry about maintaining a specific standard to someone else. The only standard that you need to maintain is for yourself, right? And for your team. So really the pros of the product route is, number one, you can provide more value at scale, which is what I was trying to do. You don't have to limit yourself in providing your expertise to one or two clients. You get to pour all your energy to a core expertise into one product that you're passionate about. And passion, has lots of longevity. If you're able to passionately do something, you can keep doing that for years and years to come. Of course, no doubt, once you pivot to product, you broaden your experience, right? Even let's say things go pair up, which most likely it won't, because if you're if you're passionate about what you do, you'll see sustainability. But in any case, if you do end up launching a product and failing, that's great. You still become a highly sought out expert, because you've been able to get your hands dirty in the process of launching on your product. Other companies will want to hire you, because you've had this leadership quality. Like I said, you take on the full accountability to yourself, and that brings that kind of sense of freedom. And all of this together, if you account for all of these factors, the byproduct of all of this of launching a product eventually leads to more revenue, creating more jobs, and ultimately more fulfillment, right? And that's the goal. Now, it all does, one thing you want to always ask yourself, and I'm going to assume a lot of you guys, I did see a lot of people drop down that they're interested in SaaS or they're running a SaaS company, which makes sense. But it's important to know the comparison of whether you do a physical product or digital product, so that you appreciate, even if you're running a SaaS company, you appreciate a SaaS company more. Now, physical products are great. I've launched physical products, anything from typical e-commerce, merchandise, educational, like books and content and stuff like that. Now, the pros is that it's a simple business model. It's buying and selling a physical product, right? It's not rocket science here. But the cons is that ultimately you have to worry about production costs, shipping costs, maintenance costs, the risk of it becoming redundant. If you have a specific physical product and another product builds a better technology than yours, then you've got essentially an entire backlog of stock, probably in the hundreds of thousands of backlog of stock that you have to that's now redundant because another competitor has made a product that's better than your technology or better than your product. The cost of iteration after that in evolution is really, really high. You can't, with software, to make a change on your software or on any digital product, it's just asking your developer to add this in, right? But to change a physical product, right, like it'll cost you millions. You have to, and you eventually you also have to consider that even if you create a 2.0 version of a physical product, your customers will know that once you launch 2.0 of that product, then your customers are no longer interested in the old version, and so then you'll be forced to drop the pricing down of your old version. So there's a lot of these things to consider, but digital products are ultimately evergreen. You don't ever have to worry about these things. It's easy to iterate and evolve. You got a UX team and a product team at hand, and you also need to get your hands dirty in the process if you're the founder. But being a product manager when it comes to digital products, it's so freeing because you only have to worry about adding more to the product and evolving it, right? Easier to scale up and down. You can have a core team of full-time players in your company, and the rest of your team is what we do is that, you know, they're contractors, you know, that work part-time or in a regular basis, but ultimately you have control over whether you keep them on board or not based on your growth, you know. And so that in your mind is very freeing, knowing that, okay, if I have to scale down, I've got that option. But of course, you know, you should be motivated to keep scaling up and growing your team, right, rather than scale down. But knowing that is very freeing. Global reach also is, you know, you can your software go, like, the moment you launch it, it's accessible to the entire world. That's why SaaS is just becoming very popular. People love to provide value at that scale, right? And guys, believe me, if you're getting into SaaS, because these pros of Evergreen, it's not good enough. Okay, you got to be very passionate in driving a solution that solves a very important problem, not a gimmick, right? Just, you don't get into SaaS because I've told you the pros and cons just for the sake of it. Get into SaaS because you've identified a gap that you really want to conquer, right? And go with that intention. Intention is so important in business. If you don't have any, if you don't have a sincere intention in business, then you're most likely going to be creating a gimmick, right? Because you just want money, right? And money is great to want, and it's important. It's a fundamental motivator. But money alone as a motivator to create a gimmicky small business or product is not going to be sustainable, right? And people can see through that. So consider that. But ultimately, the cons of a SaaS company is digital product company is very few. The business model is complex. You got to think about pricing plans, you know, what kind of features they get in those plans. And the competition is very, very vigorous and aggressive, right? They sometimes, in many spaces in SaaS, there's very few competitors, unlike physical products. But believe me, competitors can be very vicious. I'm talking about DOS attacks, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know, poor, kind of, defamatory statements online, stuff like that you have to deal with, right? All right. So hope that you guys can ultimately, you know, I still, despite the cons, I appreciate digital products the most. And, you know, this is further driven by Mr. Anthony Yell. He's the CEO of Razorfish, agency founded back in the 90s. I think they were partly responsible for great companies. And I think they were also one of the creative directors, who's a friend of mine who was there in the 90s. Was also working on MySpace at the time, which is awesome, right? Obviously, MySpace is no longer a thing now, but back then it was a big thing before Facebook. What he said was everything digital, everything that can be digital will be, right? And that's the truth. I mean, who would have known that, you know, a company selling taxi cars at scale, but doesn't own any taxi cars, would be one of the biggest companies in the world, Uber, of course. Who would have known a real estate or kind of accommodation company selling accommodation at scale would be a massive success, right? Even though they don't own any assets. Of course, we're talking about Airbnb here, right? So this is the power of digital that we need to appreciate. And I'm sure all of us in this day of age appreciate. So what would you choose? I'd love to know. This is an experiment, because ultimately I love physical products. If you can create a cool physical products, I mean, look, Apple's done it. And obviously after being in the space and having clear advantages, but you know, there's lots of underdogs coming in today in the physical product space and building very innovative products. There's no doubt about that. But regardless, I want to know what you guys feel about physical products versus digital products. Drop into the comments. Well, I know I'd love to hear that. I want to actually move the Q&A here just so I can see it as people drop their comments in. I'm just really curious. I'm a curious guy, and everyone should always stay curious if you want to grow. Now, the good news is to consider is ultimately the core principles of product development are the same. Doesn't matter if you're launching digital or physical. Has it been done before, going from agency to product? Of course, it's been done before. For those of you guys know Chris Do, I met him in London. We actually did an event with him in London, here in London, about 3 years ago. He's the founder of Blind, which is a design agency. They've worked with, amazing companies like Xbox, Microsoft, Audi, Coldplay, and a bunch of others. He pivoted into an e-learning company, again, digital-based company, right? The future, where they started helping designers become more entrepreneurial and selling their design services and positioning themselves in a much more powerful way. He's helped me in a lot of ways, in fact. So I do recommend you check out his content. But he pivoted from a service to a products focused agency. The future is really e-learning products. And that went further driven into selling physical products like merchandise, because if you become an influencer, if you become an expert in a space, you are able to sell branded merchandise because people value the tribe that you've created. Right. Same goes for Mr. Russell Brunson. And, despite what other, there's a lot of kind of varying thoughts about how people feel about Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels, but ultimately he's been able to create a lot of success in in his journey of going from sales and funnel consultant servicing to building his own SaaS product that solves the biggest problem in the sales funnels world, where there wasn't any real powerful solutions enough at the time to create websites that are actually not just a website ecosystem, but actual funnel process that guides people through a sales process, right? And he built that and he created a tribe around that. And that tribe, so he went from servicing to SaaS product, and that SaaS product even further went and delivered physical products like books, e-learning, and other types of kind of businesses like events, right? So you can really pivot from service to SaaS without a doubt. And then we have Cote Claire, again, Gary Gasper is the CEO of Market.io. Go check out his article on Medium. I think there's a lot of value to be taken out from there. And one of the things he said, he went from web mobile apps agency where they develop applications to pivoting into Market.io, a bug reporting SaaS company, right? And it's very powerful that obviously it makes sense. Like you can see that they take their expertise, what they solve in their agency, and use that as a fundamental pillar for them to pivot into the product-based company. They're taking that expertise into consideration, and that's what makes it easy to go from service to product, right? Now, the 3 steps to go from agency to product. Now, this is where I want you guys to really, really zone in. I'm going to take a sip of water because this is, it's these guidelines which will allow you to pivot.
Awesome. Before we move ahead, so Omar is the founder of Glorify app, which is on lifetime deal. So there are people who are asking in the chat. So I'm just going to give you the link, but I would request you can watch it later, and you can check out the tool and what it can do for you. But then right now, let's focus live on the value that he's providing, and later we can check out his tools. And I'm going to be sharing it via email as well. So do not worry. Over to you, Omar.
Thanks, Rishi. So, we're going to talk about, well, the good thing about this, if you focus on this presentation, we're still going to talk about Glorify, right? And so part of my presentation will be about that, and really in the context of how we went from agency product. So the step number 1 is you need to first learn to solve high stake problems, okay? Whether it's an ROI, whether it's a management problem, productivity, design, documentation, production, communication, some expertise that your agency provides to your end client, right? You need to be able to solve that problem. Of course, you wouldn't be in the service industry if you're not solving problems, but solve it with diligence and an eagerness to solve it in the best way possible, so that you become an expert in that space, and you find gaps of efficiency that you can really, really maximize, right? And that not other traditional agencies are probably not doing, right? And this is where you can really take advantage. If you keep learning to solve high stake problems, you'll find out little issues that actually makes the end result, how to get your client from going to the end result much faster. So keep maximizing the efficiency of solving the process of solving the problem, as you learn to solve the high stake problem. And this is what we've been able to do, is that when we were an agency, we learned to solve the problem of creating high converting story driven product images. And this is a snapshot of our customers' results, right? You can see over here, like Kemal Ibrahim is doing $75,000 monthly. He's a bestseller on Amazon. Kevin Leho, he's a very unique entrepreneur. He actually is an engineer. He builds his own products himself by finding gaps in the market. And, we helped him use story driven product imagery to go to 150K monthly. And there's many similar examples like this, right? So as you solve high stake problems, it becomes you need to work out, okay, what is the measurement of solving that high stake problem? Is it revenue? Is it, getting more calls for that business? Is it solving more problems in their product or solving more problems in their team, whatever that problem, you need a metric that you're solving. And our metric was revenue, like our metric of solving and helping entrepreneurs create high converting product images before and after, going and seeing, okay, what was their revenue and conversion rate before we developed their imagery for them and after they developed the imagery. And that gives you validation. This metric is fundamental, right? Don't kid yourself that you're providing value to your customer if you don't have a metric that you're tracking to really see if you're really providing that value to your end client. And once you take hold of that metric and you understand the metric, get your client to share that metric with you for the in terms of the advantage you're giving that client, and keep iterating and improving and trying to raise the bar in terms of maximizing that metric, right? And that's where you realize, as you try to raise the bar and maximize the metric for your client, you discover the process that allows your client to get to that result. And then what you do is you refine, define, and document that process. Refine, like I said, you keep making it more efficient. You keep making it better. You keep shortening and making the process faster and more efficient to get to the end result. Once you do that and you feel that you've fully built a process that you can take ownership of, you define it. Go to the level of an extent of even coining your own term for it, right? Like I give an example, like, that we showed Anthony Yell earlier, and he was the founder again for Razorfish, the agency, a marketing agency. And when they do brand strategy for clients, they actually pioneered a process called stylescapes. Before I heard of stylescapes, designers used to use mood boards, right? If you're trying to create a logo or brand for a client, you create mood boards. But they created stylescapes, which is a much more efficient way to present a brand story through these long kind of decks, right? That kind of shows how the different variations of the brands look like. And they always do 3 variations of the stylescape to the end client, so the client can really identify which brand fits the best for their product or company, right? If you don't have two or more to compare, then what are you comparing? You don't have any contrast to understand how your brand should look like, right? So their process was creating 3 brand decks as an example before narrowing it down to 1. So this is an example of refining and defining your process. And what happens is that if you find your process, you take ownership, you define it, you put content out there freely about your process, more clients will discover you, more freelancers will discover your process, and then start saying that, hey, I found this process from X and X person or X and X agency, and you get that natural traction. So don't be afraid to share it, but do take ownership of it, right? Prepare content about it, around it, before others do online, right? Or others discover their own version of it. But like I said, the great example is Anthony Yell, where he created the stylescape process, right? And for those of you guys who have heard of stylescapes, I'd love to hear, drop in the comments. And this has become a big process now in the design industry, especially in the branding industry, where they use stylescapes to help their clients really, really reach the vision, the visual aspect of their brand before they finalize on a logo. So define the process, and then document it. Like I said, you've defined it. Make sure you create content, document the process in ebooks, in documentation, all the steps that goes into your internal team. That really solidifies your ownership of that, and then start publishing content on it. That's what we did. We created the image strategy formula, the single most important design, research, ideation, and execution process that has helped hundreds of e-commerce businesses deliver high converting story-driven product images online, right? So we took this process, right? And there's many similar kind of ways of doing this, but we found our own way that's more unique, that has very defined steps to reaching the goal and really gets the results the clients need, right? And so we defined this and coined the term the product image strategy formula. It helps not only e-commerce businesses, but even it extends to SaaS companies. We use this formula on our landing page. We use this formula on e-learning products, wherever you need to communicate through visuals or through image content. Product image strategy formula can really help you with that, right? And the last step number 3, is scratch your own itch. Once you refined, defined and documented your process, learn to now scratch that own itch in the sense of, okay, I've got this process, but I want to automate it. I can't spend hours going through the steps that I usually go through with my client to get them the result. How do I automate it? How can I take each step and say, I can use some kind of digital process, right? Technology that can that can skip step B, C, D and go all the way to, the end, the final step, right? So find out, okay, how you can automate it. If the technology doesn't exist, then you build the technology. If the technology exists, then find out, okay, add that technology into your process and find out how can you make that process even better, right? Because believe me, if you keep using other, there's never short of technology to improve, right? Believe me on that. And part of this, by the way, is also focusing on a niche, which I didn't touch enough on this, because what we were able to do is, yes, we were able to focus, we were able to create the product image strategy formula, but we really focused and dialed down in a specific niche, right? Which was e-commerce, right? Once you define it for a specific niche, you can then broaden and go further and target other market segments and audiences. That's what we've done. We nailed e-commerce first, and then we started going towards other, broadening our sort of client base, right? So process went to automated. We went from our handbook process to a SaaS software. Glorify, an e-commerce focused design tool, which now is not only e-commerce focused, but it's focused on digital entrepreneurs. If you're basically, the idea of Glorify now has gone from just glorifying physical products to glorifying physical, digital, and service-based entrepreneurs. So if you're selling a physical product, we've got all the niche-oriented templates for you. We're still slowly starting to roll out digital products, such as people that are in e-learning niches like coaching, consulting, fitness, health, etc. And we're now also expanding into SaaS, digital assets. And so we're gonna, the idea with Glorify, the biggest fundamental core component is creating niche-oriented product images that has a powerful sequence, and we provide those templates for you to just simply take those templates and drop your product in the template to achieve high converting results. And really the focus of Glorify is creating high converting product content at scale, right? And how do we do this? We give people a personalized experience, right? So, most design tools, generic design tools, you go on their platform and they just show you a bunch of content, right? They show you different categories: Facebook ads, Instagram posters, a birthday card for your grandmother, a birthday card, a holiday card, etc. So these are usually generic design tool experiences. But what we're trying to do is go that extra level of personalizing the tool for every single use case or entrepreneur and their business niche and their requirement. And so if you're an Amazon seller and you're selling electronics, you should come into Glorify and we show you the templates that's a perfect match for your product, instead of having to wait for you to go into our template library, endlessly scrolling to find the perfect template for you. We cut down all that time by giving you the templates that perfectly matches with your niche, right? And once you found your template, it really is a very streamlined process of customizing it. You take the template that is perfect match, you drop your product, you remove the background, you customize very easily. It's really the core philosophy behind Glorify is to make it very easy for the non-designer, but still technically powerful and tasty for the professional designer. Because other tools, unfortunately, you'll find that either the tool is too complex where the non-designer can't understand anything or take over, or the tool is just not, is too basic, right? It's too simple. And for professional designers, and I've experienced this myself with other tools, is that if you use a tool that's too basic, you don't find the features you need to create, have the freedom of creative freedom, right? And that's what we're really solving, is creating the most balanced design tool that exists on the market for the non-designer and the professional designer to coexist. We help. The other problem that we're solving was helping entrepreneurs design at scale, because it's not good enough that you have to design images one by one. No, we design every template you find in Glorify. We create that single template into an entire brand kit, right? So that allows you to stay consistent in style throughout your entire campaign, right? And that's very important, because consistency is really what drives impact in your campaign, because people will recognize you no matter what ad they see across the entire, vast ocean that is the web, right? And you want to be able to build a relationship through your content online. And if you don't have consistency in style, in branding throughout your campaign, people will forget who you are, right? And that's where our bundles come in. Every single template comes with a matching bundle that goes with it. So if you find a template you like in Glorify, guess what? You'll have the matching ebook with you. You'll have the matching ad set. You'll have the matching product image content, everything you need in the same style. Now, let's talk about, so that's Glorify, and that's what we've been able to achieve. And those are the three steps that I went through to achieve, to achieve a product segment that really solves a core problem for online businesses, right? Specifically starting with e-commerce businesses and now expanding to digital and service-based. Now, I want to jump into this next segment of the presentation. We're running out of time, so I'll try to go through this really, really fast. Is building, really building your product, okay? And this requires a lot of attention to detail, you can say. So let's jump straight into it. So number one, time management. The most important advice that I ever got is really don't treat it like a side project, right? If you're really serious about building a product-focused company or product along the side of your agency, treat your agency, treat that product as a client, right? So the way you want to look at it in terms of a mindset perspective, you got to shift your mindset from thinking about it as something that I'm going to do on the side, from there to a client that is going to pay you vast dividends after a 12-month sprint. That's the way you want to look at it, is that this is a client I'm working for. And guess what? The client is me, right? Is yourself, is you, right? This is a client I'm working for, and that client is going to pay me vast amounts of dividends for committing to this project after a 12-month sprint. Okay, so manage your 12 months, your product development process to launch the MVP shouldn't take longer than 12 months, because you want to launch an MVP that solves at least one problem better than all the other solutions that's out there, right? Don't try to go into shiny object syndrome and try to pepper it with you might get insecure about what other companies being in that space for years have been able to achieve with tons of features. But sometimes, believe it or not, a lot of customers don't need thousands of features. They need that one feature that can really help them solve that problem that they're looking for then and there, right? So find that problem, build a product around that problem that solves that problem in the best and most efficient way, and treat it like a client that's going to pay you vast amount of dividends, right? Do research, okay? Never stop researching while you're building a product, okay? So the idea is that you're not going to work in a vacuum, okay? It's very counterproductive to believe that you're going to create absolute innovation without looking at existing solutions. So don't reinvent the wheel, but just improve the wheel. Look at other competitors all the time, have a watchful eye, and try to take these existing solutions into consideration and finding gaps in those solutions that you can bring into your product, okay? Don't copy and paste. I don't think that's the best kind of strategy, because there's always believe it or not, like some things are fundamental. Like you'll find that in SaaS companies, there are core components that you can't really change, right? Like you're never going to have a navigation bar at the bottom of your application, right? The navigation bar has to always be at the top. So, don't kid yourself in trying to create absolute innovation there, but find gaps that you can improve it just by 10%. 10% improvement is always enough. And the MVP is where it all starts. Like I said, prioritize building a sellable MVP, solving that core problem, as I explained before, the core problem that no one else is really nailing. Despite all these amazing features that your competitors have, you are really solving this one problem the best that anyone can. So again, I want to rein this in by bringing in Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn's quote here: if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late, right? And this again goes back to the MVP. Like, don't get shiny object syndrome. Make sure you focus on that one powerful value that you're going to provide and do that the best ever, right? That's what we did with Glorify. When we launched Glorify, this is how it looked. Really, as a design tool, guys, I'm not kidding you, but when we launched Glorify in 2019, it didn't solve, like, it's as a, like, if you do a stark comparison against other design tools, we had much less features than all the other design tools out there. We didn't have a lot of amazing features that other design tools had, like that, and to this day we still don't, right? But we're able to solve one really important problem that people were just not finding in other solutions. What was that? Story-driven product images. And that was driven through some of the core features that solved that problem. Was like, for example, we had the background remover. At the time, no one was doing the background remover tool, right? We then also rolled out niche oriented templates for products. No one does that. No one categorizes the templates in niches. No one recreates a single template into an entire bundle so that your campaign can get ready in a consistent style. We're still the only ones that do that. We solved the problem of allowing users to create technical specification product images by bringing in the annotation tool. So you can now point at your product with product salient features and really create these powerful, kind of infographics and call out images of your product to really communicate the features, the salient features of your product in the best way possible, right? So these are the core features we focused on, and we promoted those features versus all the other features, right? And we were able to launch. Now, that being said, even though you're selling an MVP at the beginning, okay, don't shy away from being very ambitious, right? And that's what we did. Again, we created a 3-year roadmap because really it's, the MVP is not where it begins. And if you're a short-term thinker, what you will do, and a lot of founders do this, and I recommend you stay away from this strategy, is that they build a really cool MVP, they'll launch it, they make a hell of a lot of revenue. And if you do a lifetime deal in the software space, you can make anywhere up to, maybe $200,000 in your launch. It's not a bad amount of money, right? But if you're not reinvesting it back into your product and you pocket a big chunk of it, right, profits, then believe me, you're going to burn out in a very, very short time, right? You've got a bad discipline in that case. So watch yourself. Reinvest that money into your business to make it a better product, right? That's true entrepreneurship in the truest sense, and it's not short-term thinking, and it's not as an entrepreneur, you need to be patient, right? And patient really builds a long-term vision to create something that's really, really impactful in your space, right? Short-term thinking will only get you set up for the short term, right? So create a 3-year roadmap, overdream and believe in it. Okay, so you want to be ambitious, you launch your MVP, but you want to think about all the features that you can give value to your customers by researching your competitors and trying to improve on them and creating even better features and even other features that your competitors haven't even thought about into your own product roadmap. And then do iterative vision building, okay? Keep research, validate, apply, iterate, okay? Keep looking at your product as a critical eye as a product owner and hire the relevant team, UI, UX developers to work with you in a focused manner to understand what the competitors are doing, what new solutions are being brought out there that are innovative. Validate your own solutions, right? And your own ideas through your research and what you want to apply to your product. Apply the product and then see how it performs, and then iterate, meaning try to change anything to further improve it and optimize it, and go back to research again. Research what other companies are doing, research what solutions don't exist, talk to your user base, validate it, apply, iterate, repeat. That's never ending. The best companies thrive on this model. If you don't do that, you're going to die, right? As a company, right? Because technology is fast moving and you need to move in a fast pace if you want to keep up. And you need to have the mindset, and this is what we were able to do, is the advantage to risk. And you have that, by the way. A SaaS company is not like physical products. You have the advantage to risk everything that you've built and rebuild again. I keep tearing down Glorify from the bottom up. I just destroy it and rebuild it, destroy it and rebuild it, right? Because if you're not like that, you're going to become stagnant, like some of these slow moving titans that are being overtook by innovative companies today, right? It happens in the automobile industry. It happens in the real estate industry. It happens everywhere, right? Because the big boys are too comfortable. Don't be comfortable, right? Enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, and keep building, destroy and rebuild. Whatever improvement you can bring. If you have to, obviously think of it in a smart way. If you don't have to destroy anything, don't destroy for the sake of it. But think of it in an intelligent way. If a feature needs to be introduced in your product, then don't be afraid to completely change your product to introduce that feature if you have to, right? And look what we did. In 1 year, we went from this MVP that you see over here. I mean, this is 2016, the wireframe, 2017, the initial kind of MVP that we brought in 100 users to test out. The MVP that we launched is the far right that we initially made revenue from. Fast forward 1 year later, tore down the entire UI, the user interface, the user experience.
Wow.
and rebuild Glorify from the ground up. This is really what glory looks like, because we realized we wanted a modern user interface that's scalable for the future, scalable as a little UX UI tip for you guys who are interested in building SaaS. Scalable UI simply means that your UI team should have scalability as a core practice. This is a technique that is adopted by the best companies like Intercom, Slack, Google, right? What does scalability mean? It just means that you build user interface in a way that if you keep adding to your interface, if you keep adding like new plugins, new features, it won't make the application any more cluttered, right? And so you need to have scalable menus, scalable interface structure to be able to allow that. Now, if you look at Slack, you can install 1,000 applications on Slack, and guess what? It's not going to ever look more cluttered or change the experience of Slack, right? Who agrees over here, right? Same goes for Intercom. There's hundreds of applications on Intercom that you can install. There's hundreds of third-party stuff that you can install on Google. Google has a massive suite, right? But everything is easy to find. And tomorrow, Google can add another 100 applications if they want to, and it won't change the experience, right? Okay, launch timeline. If you're going to launch a SaaS company or any product company for that instance, this is your priority. Developers in UI UX to build a product, obviously, right? Work with them to build your vision into a reality, and keep building until you get that MVP ready. Just before you launch, hire a bookkeeper. Okay. I come from an Asian background, by the way. I'm originally from Sri Lanka. I was born and raised in Spain. I live in London now, right? But I find that a lot of people, at least from where I'm from, right, they miss out on this aspect, right? Even actually globally, I find a lot of entrepreneurs, early entrepreneurs, miss out this aspect of bookkeeping, right? It's very important as early entrepreneurs to have, just before you launch, a bookkeeper in place to be able to track every single expense, right? Because you want to know where you stand on the financial aspect. I can look tomorrow and see where our finances are at, right? And that's very important. And guess what? If you have a bookkeeper, that sets you up for investment. Pre-launch prep, right? So prep, social media. This is where you start onboarding other team members, like social media designer, web developers. Web developers, make your web developer different from your application development team, right? Web development that developer only focuses on your front-facing website, the blog, the sales page, all that kind of stuff. And then while you're creating your pre-launch preparation, onboard the affiliates. Do a campaign with a marketer, a social media person to start, or a project manager to onboard, affiliates from different deal sites, different platforms that are looking for, a good deal on an application. Sell your vision, sell your MVP, and start onboarding these affiliates. Launch early. I do apologize. I've got this slide has another company based on this, but this can go for any company. It could be with Rish, it could be with AppSumo, it can be with hundreds of other kind of early adopter MVP launch platforms, right? And once you do that, go into your, once you do your launch with on Product Hunt, schedule a Product Hunt launch early. Go online. There's plenty of content that talks about how to launch on Product Hunt. Follow that process diligently so that you can get a good spot on Product Hunt and get great votes and get great feedback, and get these early adopter, deal sites to really put you in the market, put you on the map, and get that initial traction and cash flow. Use that cash flow to run a marketer running PPC, paid ads. Get that paid ad, because look, lifetime deals is easy to sell with paid ads. It's lifetime PPC, paid ads, is terrible to sell subscription. Okay. It's not worth selling subscription with paid ads. You need SEO, you need organic, you need, brand presence online to sell your subscription, to really scale a subscription. Paid ads for subscription is good to put your organic on steroids, right? But paid ads is great to sell a very lucrative offer for your lifetime deal, or like an early adopter deal that's very lucrative, right? Get a support team. Don't be doing support as a founder. You're going to kill yourself if you do support as a founder, because you're going to see all the problems in the application. It's going to drive you crazy. It's going to give you anxiety. Get your support team to take on that anxiety themselves, right? Troubleshoot with your early adopters. Be nice, and always take that beautiful approach of being very, very warm and welcoming, and getting to the end users, solving the problem. The number one reason we were able to scale as a company is because we had amazing support in the early adopter phase. to help our initial users overcome issues and that they face. Because obviously when you launch, there's going to be bugs and different issues that your customers are going to face, and they're going to complain about it. And we've converted many, many haters into lovers, right? Because of our support team, right? And then once you've got traction and cash flow, focus on SEO, focus on organic. You don't want to rely on PPC and affiliates for the rest of your product journey, right? And now since we focused on SEO since last year in July, we've been able to scale from 0 organic traffic to, on a monthly basis, 56,000 people coming, or unique users coming to the website every single month, right? It's a massive, massive investment. Okay, so that is really the timeline, and that's the priority. Don't get greedy. I said this before. Resist taking in profits till sustainability or 12 months runway, right? I haven't still, like, we're working on, we haven't achieved ultimate sustainability, because what's ultimate sustainability? We've got amazing runway, but ultimate sustainability is what? When you have MRR that, triples your overhead or something like that, or double over your overhead. If it's just meeting your overhead, that's good. But I don't think that's the epitome of sustainability, because you don't know what could go wrong. You're basically living hand to mouth, right? Sustainability is taking in profits so that you can improve and iterate, and use cash injections to fuel product growth and development. Okay, the validation exercise, very quickly. Rish, how much time do I have? I don't want to destroy the timeline here.
No problem. I think I'm learning myself a lot, so you can go on. Yeah. So are you guys enjoying? Just type in yes, and we would want Omar to continue. Yes. So you can see in the chat. I think people are very supportive here. I think we should continue. Yes, you can see
Woo!
the comments
Okay, cool.
flowing in.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. All right. So this is really important. And I'll tell you, like, entrepreneurship is a lonely place to live in. And this is called the validation exercise. You're going to get fears and doubt. There's titans that exist in any space that you try to do business in, right? Doesn't matter if you're an agency, freelancer, in the product space, right? There's titans that can literally put you to the ground, right? And I'm not, I don't say this with a pinch of salt at all. I say this in the fullest form possible. So you need to take a deep breath and realize that, and come to terms with that. That doesn't mean that, by the way, you don't have a fighting chance. Yes, you have a fighting chance, because why? The underdogs have the agility and the space of mind to really innovate. Believe in that. But no doubt you'll always have fears and doubts. How do you deal with fears and doubts? How do you deal with and this has happened to us in my company, is that your competitors, your biggest competitors, your billion-dollar competitors, copy a feature or release a feature that's exactly the same as yours, and you were the innovation, you were the ones that pioneered that feature. How do you deal with that, right? Believe me, there's always room to make an innovative product, no matter what people copy from you, because no one, you need to find a gap that really sets you apart. And really where we found that gap is making a product that is focused on creating niche-oriented product templates and tools, right? With full scalability for future third-party applications, right? And building community, a tribal community around design, marketing design. And I don't want to go into the nuances of that, but the way I overcame fear every time is this algorithm that I created, right? So you have fear that strikes your mind and heart. What's the first thing you need to do? You need to ask yourself the question: if I go back to becoming a freelancer or an agency, is this process that I developed, that I automated to create my SaaS product or my digital product, is it still valuable to the client, right? If it's not valuable anymore because of existing solutions that have automated it, that are better, that is not my solution, that is someone else's solution that has automated it, then you say no. And then what's your motive there? Stop, fail, put a pause, put your foot on the pedal and hit the brakes? No, you create a new and better process. There's never short of improving. Believe me on that, right? There's never short on improving. And I can't. I know it's not good enough for me to say believe me on that, but you just look at it, examples in the industry. Like every year, there's a new iPhone, right? And you keep asking yourself, like, how much better can this iPhone get, right? But it can still improve. So believe in that, right? But then if you say, hey, wait a minute, is your process valuable? And the answer is yes. Then you just keep building. Don't stop. Okay. If you watch the movie The Founder, I think it's called The Founder, right, with Ray Kroc, who built the empire that is McDonald's. One of the fundamental lessons from that movie is that what? It's persistence, right? Persistence is like talent. There's so many talented people that are, are a waste of space. There's so many educated people that are foolish, right? But persistence precedes everything, right? If you're persistent, you're unstoppable. You're the biggest titans, the biggest competitor can't put you on the ground. Because why? No matter what your biggest competitor do and put you on the ground, you still keep getting up. You're still coming back on your feet. That's an enemy that nobody wants to have. Be that enemy, right? And so really love the outcome. Never stop. Be a machine in the process. Know that the underdogs can move faster and smarter than slow moving titans. And here's a good example of a few, underdogs that have really crushed their space. ClickUp. ClickUp launched like very recently, just recently did a funding round, I think in Series B of a couple of million, probably like $10 million, or raised their valuation to, unicorns, I believe unicorn status now, which is amazing. And you think to yourself, like, wait a minute, how many project management tools exist out there? There's Asana, there's Basecamp, there's like never short of project management tools, right? But yet ClickUp carved a market share for themselves. They really built something that was innovative, very easy to understand, beautiful onboarding. And I use ClickUp. My entire team uses ClickUp, right? And I'm not surprised they were able to raise the funds they are and make the impact they have. Razer is another one. I mean, how many computing computing technology or computing companies exist? I mean, Apple, Microsoft, of course, and a few, Sony, and like a few dozen of them. But you still find that, I mean, what is Razer selling? Essentially, they're selling the same machine that all these other companies sell. Maybe the graphics card is a little bit better, because ultimately they focus more on gaming, but they really carved out that niche, the gaming niche, right? And they made their aesthetics and their brand really focus on that niche in the best way and most targeted way possible. If you're a gamer, a lot of teens, a lot of hardcore gamers will really appreciate the style that Razer has, the way it communicates its value and its products, right? Especially the aesthetics. And then you dive deeper into the product experience itself, and it's perfect for gamers, right? And so they've really built an impact there. Another story I love sharing is Tenzing. And I don't have Tenzing today, but I usually have an entire crate of Tenzing in my house. Why? Because I'm a big believer in their product. Tenzing has a beautiful story. It's an energy drink. But it's an energy drink that's made out of the very healthy plant-based ingredients. Doesn't have like unnatural ingredients like Red Bull. And guess what? The founder of Tenzing was an ex-marketer of Red Bull. He found a problem in Red Bull where all the ingredients, of course, is very poisonous for the human soul, right? And what he realized is in his journey, he set out in this path to find out the best brew for an energy drink that is healthy and plant-based. And he found this ingredients that is developed by the Himalayan Sherpas, right? The Sherpas are tribes people, of course, of the Himalayas. If you guys are from India, you most likely might know about them. They're the people that climb the Himalayas, and they live, their native tribe there. And they use this energy drink brew of guarana, lemon juice, caffeine, and some other plant-based, healthy ingredients to use this as an energizer to climb the Himalayas into the peak of the Everest, right? Tenzing is actually named after one of those Himalayan Sherpas themselves, right? And this amazing brand story that the ex-marketer of Red Bull has created around his product, and now Carb is become a real serious competitor, underdog competitor against Red Bull. It's amazing, and so I'm a big evangelist of their product, and many people are. They've been rolling out their products into many startups. People buy Tenzing on a subscription. Believe it or not, I've got a subscription with Tenzing, and they send me a pack every 2 weeks. Brilliant subscription business for a physical product, right? But this just shows that no matter how big the titans of different industries get, underdogs always have room to just move in a very strategic manner to overtake the slow-moving titans. That's it for my presentation, guys. I really hope that you found value in that. Let me just see where we're cutting at. Just 1 hour, right? I think it is, Rish. Is that? Am I right there?
Yes. And I think it was lovely, Omar. I certainly have certain questions I learned. I was noting down. So I have a pen in my hand. I was noting down, and I was able to relate all the things that he shared, and I was connecting with the problems that I have. Before we go ahead, so we have contest, and Omar is very generous, so he is giving us 3 lifetime deals to Glorify. But then you have to do a certain task for this, and also all your certificate, all the other things that was asked or promised is available in the link that I'm sharing in the chat. But so yeah, people who want to go ahead can participate in the link. You can find all the things related to Glorify, and you can participate. And you will we will announce the results in about 2 days for the winners of the Glorify lifetime deal. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing platform, and I really love it. Now we are open to few questions, Omar. So if we can just have 5 minutes of your time, I know you are a busy man, and thank you so much for doing this for us. So just few questions that I have personally, and then of course we can also ask people in the chat. So the first question is, how do you? I think this is one standard question that most of the people have here. How do you acquire clients if you're just starting out? You know, you don't have a name, you don't have any credibility, although you have the skills in a particular domain. But then, how do you onboard your first client because the competition is fierce? How do you make somebody believe you? That's my first question.
Okay, we're talking about clients specifically to service model, right? Agency freelancer.
Service. Yeah, freelancing agency, that side. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I went through a discovery of myself to work out because, look, a lot of people I've met in the service space, they've started with their network, right? It's the easiest reach that you can grapple onto, right? And if you don't have a network yet, then I would honestly advise that you work in a corporate environment. Like, don't go straight into freelance if you don't have a network that you can tap into. Work in a corporate environment because that will build your network, right? This is the typical path I've seen for any successful agency owner, freelancer. They worked in another agency, another company, product-based or service-based company, doesn't matter. But from there, they grow their experience, they grow their expertise, and they become more valuable, right? If you haven't worked in a corporate environment or a kind of a team, let's not say a traditional corporate environment in an office, but even a team, right? If you haven't worked in a team being hired by someone, then I think that you don't necessarily, it'll be very difficult for you to pivot to entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship, like for me, what's important is about part of entrepreneurship is about also humbling yourself, right? So if you haven't worked for someone and you just decide that, hey, I'm going to be a business owner, an agency owner, a freelance, and people are going to love me, then I think you've got an ego problem, right? And business needs to come from a perspective of being egoless, right? Because that's what builds and nurtures true relationships. So start from, humble yourself and go into like work for someone, work for a team, get hired by a typical company and work full time. And then build network, go to networking places, build friendships, important, basically cultivate beautiful friendships in your space, within your expertise and your domain, So I've got a big network of friends, amazing friendships that I've built in the design space, I can pull out my phone and get on a phone call with at least 5 different designers to get an opinion on my UX and UI of my product, for instance, right? This is the power of network, right? The reason I got hired in my second job after quitting my first job was because of my network. I found someone in that job that got me in, right? But the reason I was able to pivot from my job to freelancer was because of my network. I had a few clients that I can rely on and benchmark and bench on until I was able to scale further. So really, it does come down to that. So to summarize, start full-time in a corporate environment or a remote team, startup, work full-time for that, build your network, and cultivate beautiful friendships through your company resource or the company that you're working in, and as well as external places like meetups, masterminds, and networking places.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, this
Right.
reminds me. Yeah.
Let me add one last thing, Rish. I do apologize because once you've done that, there's other sources to build your client base, and so your network is kind of your low hanging fruit, let's say, right? But then you can, once you got your low hanging fruit sorted, you've got, at least got somewhere to kind of rest on. Then what I went and did was I went into, and a lot of people, by the way, they have this ego against places like Upwork and freelancer.com and fiverr.com, right? When you're starting out, like, there's a lot of pretentiousness in the freelancer agency model, because you have all these big shot entrepreneurs that are saying that you got to earn like, you got to sell $10,000 engagements, right? Right. If you haven't had the experience to sell $10,000 engagements, how are you going to go from $0 to $10,000 engagements? Right. You honestly have to hustle and sell from $100, $50 engagements to $100 engagements to $300 engagements and up, and but it's a stepping stone, right? So don't kid yourself and don't listen to these pretentious entrepreneurs showing off their muscle through the revenue they've generated. So my biggest advice is that I went from the bottom up, and a lot of people do that to achieve the heights that they've done. The most successful entrepreneurs have done that, right? And so part of my advice is that, I went on freelancer.com. I went on upwork.com, and that's where I started getting basic engagements. My engagement scaled from, $500 engagements to $1,000 to eventually, $10,000 engagements, So, really, really craft the value, gain that confidence, gain that what you call momentum, and start scaling with your momentum, right? Otherwise, you're going to be, you might have imposter syndrome, and imposter syndrome is terrible. When you come in front of a client and you're trying to sell a $10,000 engagement, but you believe either you're too egotistical and your value is not going to be matching up to the client's requirements, and you believe so that means you've got a narcissistic personality. You think that, I'm the best, and you really believe it, but you're not. That means you're not willing to take criticism, right? So don't be narcissistic, don't be egotistical. Look at yourself for who you are and what your skills offer. And so either do that or and grow and scale, sell your services realistically and don't be an imposter.
Wow. Okay, that's an amazing advice there. And this reminds me of a cliche quote, which is your network is your net worth, right? So the more connections you make, the more money you make ultimately. So yeah, that was some amazing insights. My next question, and after that, I will just take one or two more from the people here, and then we will wrap up. So I see so many lifetime deals coming out. I mean, there's one alternative. There's just not one alternative right now. There are like 5 or 10 alternatives of the same tool, and they're performing the same functions, and everything is on lifetime deal. Where do you see them heading to, and what is the future of the tech? Because it's going to be so many tools. How do people choose, or what is the revenue, or what is the status of the founders? Is what I want to know from your experience.
Yeah, so I believe what you said is very true. Like there's we're spoiled for choice in terms of tools that are out there. But I do also believe that tools are so complex in the sense that there's a potential fit for any circumstance, right? Sorry, excuse me, Resh, I apologize.
No problem. No problem. Yes.
There's a potential fit for, so like I'll give an example, like email clients, right? Email, like MailChimp, and I went through like 10, 20 different email clients before I really found out the pricing model that's perfect for mine. Not just the pricing, but the features as well, right? Like the APIs, the webhooks that can hook up into our SaaS product and all this kind of stuff, right? So it shows that, it's all about the core component of value that you share, right? And really, really trying to drive innovation. Now, if you're going to be a copycat product against everyone, right, then there's a problem there, right? And yes, you have this problem. And those companies, they only rely on two things. They rely on shiny object syndrome from the early adopter community, right? And just making that one-time lifetime sell, pocketing the finances, and not doing enough product progress, right? Now, users think they're getting a good deal, but the longevity of that product is very, very subjective, and that's the unfortunate thing. And early adopters and people with shiny object syndrome will always exist. So you can always take advantage of this market, so to speak, right? But if you're real sincere, and that's what I said in the beginning, you need to be sincere in pursuing product building, right? Not a gimmick, not just for the sake of it. If you're going to do it for the sake of it, then I really suggest that you figure out another opportunity to look at, right? I came into this because I really believed in the gap. There is not like I am a big believer in processes, right? And I use processes with my team, and I see problems in processes all the time. So I really always want to build an app for it that the app doesn't exist for it, right?
Mm.
And so when you find a real problem in your flow, right, and you even look for solutions that are out there and they don't solve that problem, there's an opportunity, and
Right.
you can solve that, right? And so that's what I found with Glorify. There was a real opportunity to solve problems for e-commerce businesses at start, and really help entrepreneurs create design at scale. And we're going into the next level. Evolution doesn't stop, right? Like I said in the beginning, we have to be persistent, and it's an ongoing iterative process. The best companies thrive on this, right? And now Apple and look at Apple and Microsoft. They used to be comfortable, but because of so many companies that disrupting their technology, they have to be on their toes as well to keep delivering, right? So that's the world we live in, and delivering is fulfilling. Not being comfortable is fulfilling. Trust me. Like if you're on your toes, you're always working, you're always thinking, you're always using your mind, right? People in the past, they built something and they became comfortable, they became stagnant, and became dumb, right? So keep your mind on this. It's not a bad thing to be always engaged to build the best product. And so I'll give an example. Like we built, we focused on creating an e-commerce focused design tool. What's the next step? We realized that e-commerce entrepreneurs need to bring analytics to their design, right? To their to see the performance of their ad creatives and performance of their product image creatives. So we're integrating a third-party plugins marketplace that can integrate analytic tools to split test designs and iterate the designers without having to go into the ad account on Facebook and Google Analytics, because most designers don't even know how to use that. They can get the data right inside Glorify to iterate the design. If the green color button on your ad creative was better than the red color button, then you should make the designers can take over and make all your ad creatives red color button or green color, sorry, right? So these are kind of the features we're looking at in the future, and it keeps building from there, right? So you have to, if you're going to, like I said, there's a lot of products out there that are just copycat, taking advantage of the gold rush in the SaaS space by building copycats and selling lifetime deals.
Mm.
If you're a person that has shiny object syndrome, consider the options that are out there. And if you want to I buy lifetime deals as well myself, right? But I don't have shiny object syndrome. I really buy lifetime deals that solves a problem that I'm looking for, right? That would cost me a lot of money if I was to buy a subscription-based business now, right? I've got Big Marker, which is a great application, webinar platform. We've used it loads of times. I've got Product Flare. It's a roadmap tool. I use that on our website, right? So lifetime deals are valuable, but just make sure you do research on the founder, research on their trajectory, and see what kind of product they have. And if you believe in the product, go for it, no doubt, and if it solves your problem, go for it, and you can saves you money, go for it, no doubt, right? So make it a strategic decision. Don't make it a shiny object syndrome decision.
True.
And in terms of people building a product, just be innovative. That's all. Be sincere, be innovative, and never stop building. That's the advice I give.
Awesome. That was lovely, Omar. I just want to ask you, how are you so wise? I mean, what are the books you read or what do you smoke? I mean, it's
I'll tell you, Rishi, that the problem is I have too many energy drinks. That's the
okay.
problem.
You need to send this over to me, and I really want this.
Well, look, I don't have Red Bull. I'll be honest. I'm a big coffee fan. I don't have Red Bull. I do a lot of meditation, and I like energy drinks that have natural ingredients like caffeine, tain, any plant-based stuff, folic acid, guarana and that kind of, ginseng, all this kind of stuff. Any plant-based energy drinks I have. I'm a big fan of coffee, but I also try to stop my coffee intake before 2:30 p.m. If you have coffee after 2:30 p.m., you can have as many coffees as you like before 2:30 p.m. But if you have it after 2:30 p.m., caffeine lives in your bloodstream after for I think 6 to 8 hours, right? And the entrepreneurs need to have good quality sleep if they want to think smart, right? And sleep is everything. I used to ignore my sleep, and that was a big problem in my life, right? And now I've been trying to stop my caffeine intake after. I'm not perfect in this, by the way. I'm not, by no means perfect, but I try to stop my caffeine intake before 2 p.m., 2:30. So by the time 10, 11 o'clock hits, I'm in bed, I'm not high on caffeine anymore. I can get a good night's sleep, you know, and I wake up vigorized. Workout as well. I don't exercise enough. Like I've been very shameful in the last couple of weeks. Like, you know, I'm trying to commit to 3 times, 2 times at least. Um, but yeah, try workout, that helps, you know. Hopefully
Definitely.
that'll help you guys.
Perfect. I think this was amazing knowledge on personal side, entrepreneurship. I think pretty much you've covered all the grounds today, and I think we should be really thankful to Omar for doing this for us and adding so much value. So one final word, if you guys can just say a thank, I just want to share your experience in the chat so that Omar can read all your comments here. Yep.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. You know, I can see a lot of positive comments, and it's great to see that. And you know, hit me up, guys. You know, like find me on LinkedIn, find me on Facebook. You know, I prefer Facebook to be more cultivating personal relationships. LinkedIn is more kind of business relationships, and Instagram is where you can follow me on Instagram, my personal Instagram. Um, Glorifies Instagram is a great place to follow, but even my personal Instagram, because I've been a bit slow recently, but I try to share content similar to this on my personal Instagram.
Perfect. So Omar, that would be it. Thank you so much for doing this. I always knew you were an amazing speaker, and that was the first primary reason for me to actually bring you here and add value for the entire audience that we have. And thank you so
Thank you
much for
so much,
doing this.
man.
And yeah, we're going to be in touch. I think we should be doing certain events pretty much all the time together. So
For sure.
lovely having you, Omar, and thank you for giving us your time.
Thanks
Uh,
a lot, Rish. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah. So what's the next step? Do I turn off? Should I,
Yes, I'll take it forward from here.
yeah.
And yes, thank you so much. And I'll catch up. Perfect. So this was Omar Farookh. I hope you guys had a very good time here. And guys, you can participate. I'll just share the links with you over here. So we are giving away 3 lifetime deals, which is worth I think 79 or $99. You've seen the product. It's pretty rock solid. Okay, and you should not miss out. It's a very simple contest altogether. And I'm just sharing my link in the chat. I'll just show you what it can do for you. So when you click on it, you can just uh, click on this first link. You will basically get your certificate. Second one is you will get free task, which is integrately is your Zapier alternative. And next is you can pretty much just follow the steps which is given here, and we will announce the results in 2 days from now, which is on Sunday at 11 a.m. on the Facebook group. 5 lucky winners will be chosen. And yeah, just go ahead and have fun, guys. You are getting so much out of it as such. Perfect. Okay, any doubts as such? Any doubts, guys? So create a new account, maybe. Just go ahead, and that's about it. So guys, we my name is Rishi, and I will be sharing your recordings with you via emails. Do not worry about it. And our 3 months digital marketing course is launching this weekend, and I will be sharing all the details with you about the curriculum. So if you guys are interested in learning from us, and if you want to get started with digital marketing, we cover a lot of ground. There's internship, there's live projects, there's a lot of things that we bring to the table. And if you're interested, my so the institute that we come from is called as Digital Scholar .in, and I'll share the details with you via emails. And that's about it. Yes. So yes, Sovik, you can make another one for the contest, right? So follow the steps that has been given to you in the chat, in the link. I will be sending one email tomorrow, so expect one email from me, which will have the recording of the session and all the details about the contest that you should participate. Do not miss this. It's an amazing way to win something. Perfect. So this would be goodbye from my side. Thank you so much for joining in. We have some webinars happening on Sunday too, so look out for my email. It's going to be another session on how you can scale up your products and some other fun sessions coming together. So thank you guys and take care. See you